My story was that during last year, around August of last year, I was reassigned a case from a FR that was having problems. Contacted, I guess, the right person at the hospital, and he was also leaving the country, so it needed to be completed. So the case was reassigned to me, and what I did, was to actually do a little bit of research on the case, and then I found out that instead of going through the hospital itself, I went through the administration part of the hospital, which was the university. And then doing research about that university, I found out that one of the persons that was really high in the university was an ex-government official for a previous administration that was very, knowledgeable about the NAMSIS and HAMSIS study, and she was my contact. I tried to make her my contact. So what I did, I went to her office. I was not able to reach her because it was during the beginning of the school. So they gave me her email. I sent her an email, and within 2 hours she contacted me, telling me who to talk to, who the person that I should go see at the hospital, and she opened the way for me to complete the case. The story is that, contact the person that is going to help you. Sometimes you got to do a little bit of research, and you're going to find out that there's always somebody that knows NAMSIS and HAMSIS, probably, especially in a hospital. Thank you.
I visited a CHC in Alabama, and the one thing that interested me most once I made it to the center, that it had a huge garden in front of the center. And when I went in to do my induction with the director, after the induction, he asked that I want to go tour the garden. And of course I said yes. So as we toured the garden, he had tomatoes, green beans, pumpkins, etc. And he said his goal was to have the government to fund his garden so he can provide better patient care. And at the end of the tour, I ended up taking tomatoes and green beans, etc. home. And that's my story.
So I was asked to travel to attempt a couple type A conversions the day before closeout. And all 3 conversion attempts were successful, so I called into my supervisor to report in, and she said, "Oh, I have one more for you." So she gave me the address, and I was transmitting as I went, so I didn't know exactly what the situation was. So I pulled into the parking lot, and the lot was virtually empty. And my heart just sunk because I looked inside, the office looked closed. But when I looked into the office, I noticed that there was some kind of construction going on. There was, the desks were covered and you could see supplies around. So I went back to my car, I was updating my case notes, and I saw a man walk in to the office, and he was wearing coveralls. So I figured I would go and talk to him and see if there was another way that I could reach the doctor. So I went to talk to him, and he was painting, and as it turned out, it was the doctor painting his own office. So I explained why I was there, and he just said, "Well, I'll tell you what, if you help me finish painting, I'd be more than happy to do the interview." So I just grabbed a roller, painted the rest of the wall, and when we were done, we got the induction done, and he uncovered the files for abstraction. Whatever it takes.
I was traveling to conduct some follow-ups, and I had gone to an office that had refused us. So I presented myself. They told me the doctor was out of the country, and so I asked to speak to their office administrator. They asked me to have a seat while they spoke with her, and so as I'm waiting, I'm just looking around the office, and there were only 2 of us in the office reception area. So the nurse came out and she said, "Hello, Bonnie." And so I stood up and I go, "Hello, thank you for allowing to see me today. I appreciate taking your time." And we're walking back and we're making small talk, and she stops in front of the scale, and I go, "I have to weigh myself to do an interview?" And she says, and I said, "Oh, I believe you have the wrong person." I said, "I'm here to conduct a survey." And so we realized that she was to see a patient who had the same name, but I stood up. And so we walked back out to the reception area, and the patient goes, "Your name is Bonnie too?" So we all had a good laugh, and then when they called me back the second time, I did clarify that I was to go for a study.
Well, the 2012 centralized training was held in Atlanta, I believe, last year. Right afterwards, we had a lot of new employees that had just started doing, especially HAMSIS. So we needed to get them learning how to abstract as soon as possible. They had been working in the St. Louis area at one of the major hospitals already for about 2 weeks, trying to get about 500 cases done. And so they called in everybody at the last minute to say, "Let's, get this done all in one day. We'll finish it up." So about 3 or 4 of us came in that day. And when the employee from the hospital saw all these new people walk in, she kind of thought, "Uh-oh, I better do something about this." So she decided that we all needed badges for the hospital. So we were like, "We only have about an hour's worth of work done and we'll be out of here, and, are you sure we need to do that?" "Oh yes, we have to have you do this." So we all were taken through hallway after hallway after hallway, and about 2 hours later, when our beautiful new IDs were made, we were able to come back to finish our work. It took us about 45 minutes to an hour to finish up. And so then she waited at the doorway. One woman had left already, but she waited at the doorway to get the badges back from us after we had used them for maybe 45 minutes to an hour. And then we had to call the employee back that took hers home with her because they needed it back immediately.
I was doing an N1 observation for NAMSOS, and the field rep and I were in the office along with our CDC bags, and while we were waiting for the office administrator, one of the patients approached us and said, "Don't you folks usually show up in hazmat suits?"
I had an assigned case of a pediatrician in an office in St. Louis, and I went to meet with her, and the induction went really well. She was very sweet, very cooperative, and she said, "We don't have electronic records, I still do charts." And I went, "That's okay, because we're trained to read those charts." So I showed up for the abstraction meeting, and they put me in her office at her desk, and it was just surrounded by stacks of charts and records. And I went, "Okay, here we go." And in order, the first one, I opened it up and I went, "Oh my goodness." So after spending about 30 minutes going through the first chart, I was able to decipher her handwriting, which was difficult at best. And went through and got to the third one and reached under the treatment and medication section, and I couldn't figure out any of the medications. So I asked her personal assistant, her head nurse, to come in. And she came in and said, "Yeah, we do have trouble reading some of her handwriting." And she looked at it and started giggling, and she said, "I can't make this out. Let me go get the doctor." So the pediatrician came in, opened the chart, and looked at it for a good minute. And she said, Honey, I have no idea what this says.